Pluto. Whether you acknowledge it or not, it's a body in space, and it has a lot of people talking about it in one form or another. Not the least of which is because of the "is it a planet" debate? Hint, it is. But also because it's the farthest entity from the Sun in our solar system. And thus, it's a really cold place that people like to explore from afar via probes and satellites to see what they can witness on it. And what they're witnessing right now is rather eruptive. Allow us to show you how ice volcanoes on Pluto may still be erupting. Ice volcanoes erupting? An area of Pluto that researchers think was formed from the eruption of ice volcanoes is unique on the dwarf planet and in the solar system, a new study suggests. NASA's New Horizons mission, which launched in 2006, took detailed photos of the surface of Pluto, a planet, and the largest object in the Kuiper Belt. Now, a new analysis examines images of an area containing two main mounds that scientists have proposed are ice volcanoes. In the study, the researchers conclude that the surface around these mounds was likely formed by fairly recent activity of the ice volcanoes, or cryovolcanoes. The finding raises the possibility that these volcanoes may still be active and that liquid water, or something like it, flows or recently flowed under the surface of Pluto. Recent activity also means that there is likely more heat in Pluto's interior than scientists previously thought. Given other recent research, the scientists say their work could even raise the possibility of life existing under Pluto's surface. What the research says. The researchers analyzed photographs of a region dominated by two large mounds called Wright Mons and Pickard Mons, which scientists think are cryovolcanoes. Wright Mons is a mount 2.5 to 3 miles, 4 to 5 kilometers high, and about 90 miles, 150 kilometers wide, while Pickard Mons is about 4 miles, 7 kilometers high, and 150 miles or 250 kilometers wide. The suspected ice volcanoes also have extremely deep depressions at their peaks. The one on the Wright Mons is about as deep as the mount is high. Many parts of the area also have an unusual, lumpy or hummocky appearance, made up of undulating rounded mounds. The researchers think smaller mounds formed from ice volcanoes could have accumulated over time to form these two main mounds. There was no other areas on Pluto that looks like this region. Kelsey Singer, a planetary scientist at the Southwest Research Institute in Boulder, Colorado, and the lead author of the study, told Space.com. And it's totally unique in the solar system. Unlike other areas of Pluto, this area has few to no impact craters, indicating that the surface was formed relatively recently in geological time. Based on the lack of craters, the area is likely no older than 1 or 2 billion years old, with some areas likely being less than 200 million years old, Singer said. Cryovolcanoes. In some ways, cryovolcanoes are analogous to volcanoes on Earth, since much of Pluto's surface is made of ice, and temperatures on Pluto are far below water's freezing point. That means that liquid water, or something like it which is at least partially fluid or mobile, would be like magma on Earth, coming up to the surface after an eruption and freezing or hardening into a solid. It's probably not coming up completely liquid. It's probably more like a slushy thing where you have some liquid and some ice. Or it could even be more like a flowing solid, Singer said, which could be more like ketchupy or silly putty. It could even be more solid ice that can still flow. We all know that ice can flow because we have glaciers that flow on Earth, she said. Though scientists don't totally understand how cryovolcanic activity on Pluto might work, it is likely powered by radiogenic heat created by the decay of radioactive elements in the dwarf planet's interior. A similar phenomenon is also one of the sources of heat in the Earth's interior. Although Pluto does not have plate tectonics, the complex system of shifting continental crust that underlies geologic activity on Earth. Scientists call geologic activity like that on Pluto general tectonics, which can still create features like faults in rock but does not have tectonic plates. Similarities to Earth. Pluto's cryovolcanoes display some similarities to shield volcanoes on Earth, which are low-profile volcanoes which form from the steady accumulation of lava flows into rounded structures. Think of the Hawaiian Island volcanoes, rather than an eruption like Mount St. Helens or Vesuvius. But shield volcanoes usually form from very liquid lava, unlike what scientists think happened on Pluto. Some volcanoes on Earth and other planets also have a depression in their middle called a caldera, formed when a newly erupted volcano collapses into the void left by all the material it spewed out. But the depression on Wright Mons is so deep that the volcano would have had to lose about half of its volume to be in similar shape to Mauna Loa, a shield volcano in Hawaii that is one of the largest volcanoes on Earth and has a comparatively small caldera, though the two structures are similar in volume, Singer said. There's still a lot of researchers who don't know about these features, how they were formed, and how cryovolcanism works on Pluto. The idea that liquid water could exist between the surface of Pluto raises the chances of life existing on Pluto from practically non-existent to slightly more plausible, given other research suggesting that Pluto was hot when it formed and could still have a liquid ocean under its icy surface. I think that it is a little more promising, and that there might be some heat and liquid, potentially liquid water, closer to the surface, Singer said. But there's still some big challenges for poor microbes that want to live on Pluto. And obviously, by extension, if we want to live on Pluto one day in order to be upon the outer reaches of our solar system. The origins of Pluto. In the 1840s, Urbain Le Verrier used Newtonian mechanics to predict the position of the then undiscovered planet Neptune after analyzing perturbations in the orbit of Uranus, which, if you think about it, is a rather clever and unique way of finding a planet given the technology that they had at the time, further proving that the earlier generations of astronomers were much more clever than people think. Subsequent observations of Neptune in the late 19th century led astronomers to speculate that Uranus's orbit was being distributed by another planet besides Neptune. Thus, Percival Lowell, a wealthy Bostonian who had founded Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona in 1894, started an extensive project in search of a possible ninth planet, which he termed Planet X. By 1909, Lowell and William H. Pickering had suggested several possible celestial coordinates for such a planet. Lowell and his observatory conducted his search until his death in 1916, but they didn't find the planet they were looking for. Ironically, though, his surveys had captured two faint images of Pluto on March 19th and April 7th, 1915, but they were not recognized for what they were. Then came a long legal battle that halted the finding of Planet X. Vesto Melvin Slifer, the observatory director, gave the job of locating Planet X to 23-year-old Clyde Tombaugh, who had just arrived at the observatory. On February 8, 1930, after nearly a year of searching, Tombaugh discovered a possible moving object on photographic plates taken on January 23rd and 29th. A lesser quality photograph taken on January 21st helped confirm the movement. The reason they hadn't noticed the movement before was because of Pluto's incredibly long orbit around the Sun. Fast forward to now, and Pluto is no longer a planet, but it should be. The ninth planet. The fact of the matter is, there is no good reason for Pluto to not be considered a full planet. What's the logic that it's not? Size? That's only a number, and it's clearly big enough to have been dubbed a planet in the first place, so clearly someone is corrupt with power. Furthermore, given how much we study it and want to know how it works, that would imply that it's very important, wouldn't you say? Sure, it's not the best planet out there, or the one we'll be colonizing first, but at the very least, we could put some respect back on Pluto's name, alright? So, what do you think? What do you think of this look at Pluto and how the ice volcanoes there are still very much erupting? Do you think this is a sign of things to come for Pluto? What do you think of the planet overall? And should it be getting more respect than it is getting right now? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on the channel.